In episode 7, as the survivors make their way back to the barracks, they're pretty surprised because 212 is standing there, smiling from ear to ear with a shit-eating grin on her face. She tells everybody proudly how, when no one picked her, the workers just escorted her back. So everybody's still stuck with her. As for the front man who watched the whole game, his big concern at this point is they still haven't found number 29. As he heads back to his office, his phone rings, and it's whoever is controlling this whole thing. And he wants to congratulate the front man on a game that was very successful. The front man thanks him and lets him know that the VIPs will be arriving shortly. But when the front man answered the phone, he noticed that the phone was put back on the ringer in the opposite direction. So he knows that number 29 was in the office. He picked up the phone, and he's pretty sure that number 29 is probably still in the office somewhere. He starts speaking as if number 29 can hear him, and he lets him know that he knows he's a cop because the bullet he used to kill the one organ transporter is only issued for cops' guns. He goes through his office, gun in hand, saying that it's not too late for number 29 to come out and talk. You have a feeling, though, that if Jun Ho did come out and talk, he wouldn't talk too much, he'd get shot. The front man then enters the records room, and he knows that number 29 has been there. In fact, Jun Ho is still there. He's got his gun ready to fire if the front man gets too close. But the front man gets a radio message telling him that they found a body on a corner of the island and it's got a police ID. When Jun Ho had dumped number 29's actual body, he stuffed his police ID in there, and it was a good move. This act of genius has bought him a little bit of time. The front man takes off to go inspect this body, look at the ID, and as he's doing so, he gets word that the VIPs have arrived. He instructs the workers to incinerate the body, get rid of any trace of it, as he heads back to tend to the VIPs. The front man heads in, and he goes to address somebody that is wearing a cat-like mask covered in maybe diamonds. I'd say it's bedazzled, but whatever it is, it's gaudy as hell. And he lets that person know that the VIPs have arrived. And the VIPs are all wearing similar masks. They're not bedazzled, but they're silver, and they all look like a different animal. You've got a leopard, a tiger, etc. The front man goes to greet them, and he introduces himself as the front man. He tells all the VIPs that he oversees the operations of the facility, but all they care about is where the host is. And the front man explains that some urgent business has him preoccupied at the moment. The front man assures him that the remaining games will happen as scheduled, no one will be disappointed, and then he escorts them to where they'll watch the 5th game. Their viewing area is ridiculous. I mean, it's shaped like a jungle. You've got workers who are acting as tables and footstools. But right as they enter, the one VIP, who I think he's some kind of jungle cat. I don't know, folks. I didn't study animals in college. Anyway, this guy flips out because the one contestant he bet $1 million on committed suicide during the night. This guy had partnered with his wife in the last game. His wife ended up dying, and he couldn't live without her. So now this VIP is out $1 million. He's not too upset about it because he's got a ton of money. And the VIP experience includes free food and booze. That's cool. But one of the guys that's going to be handing out the alcohol is Jun Ho. He had intercepted one of the servers, knocked him out, tied him up, and took his outfit. He enters the room. He starts surveying the landscape, but he quickly gets some unwanted attention from the VIP with the jungle cat mask. Jun Ho would rather stand off in the shadows, but this guy won't let him. He demands that Jun Ho be his personal bartender for the night, and Jun Ho has no choice but to do that. The VIPs then settle in to watch the 5th game. There's only 16 contestants left, and this game is going to quickly whittle them down. This game will also be one that the VIPs are going to bet on, and they're very familiar with it. As the contestants enter the waiting area, they're instructed to go and pick a vest. There's 16 vests, and they're numbered 1 through 16. They have no idea what the numbers indicate, but right away, the middle numbers go quick. Seong is really torn about what to do. He doesn't know whether he should choose the latter numbers or the early numbers. And the more he thinks about it, the more his options get whittled down. He's about to choose number 1 when a guy comes up to him and begs him for the first number. He explains to Seong that he's never really been able to take charge of his life. And if he's going to die, he wants just one time for him to make the call. He wants number 1. He wants Seong to just walk away. Seong says, yeah, okay, man, you can have it, because they still don't know what the numbers mean. So Seong decides to take the number 16, the last number. It ends up being the best decision, as Seong completely lucks out. Because when they get out to see what the game is, number 1 is the worst number to get. Because the 5th game is glass stepping stones. There's 2 panes of glass that the contestant needs to step on. One will hold their weight. It'll actually hold 2 people's weight. But the other one, you're falling to your death. So the first guy to go, he's likely to die. The odds of him making it all the way to the end are slim to none. He's basically going to be a sacrificial lamb. The last person to go has the best odds, because at this point, a lot of people have sacrificed their lives, so you know which pane of glass to step on. For the VIPs, they had to make their bets before the contestants took their vests. So now it's a matter of just waiting to see who ends up winning some money and who doesn't. The game is going to take 16 minutes. The first guy is kind of forced to go, and the first pane of glass he steps on holds his weight, but the second one, guy dies. The second guy, it's much of the same. And the people in the back, they're getting anxious because the clock is ticking down and they need to get to the end before the clock reaches 0. So somebody at the front who's taking their sweet time deciding which pane of glass to step on is not ideal. As the contestants, though, make their way through the course, the Jungle Cat VIP is getting way too acquainted with Jun-Ho. He tells Jun-Ho to take off his mask, but Jun-Ho refuses to. He knows that if he takes off his mask, the front man, who is over in the corner watching all of this, is going to come over and kill him. So he tells the VIP, let's go somewhere private. And the VIP completely abandons the game because this guy thinks, he's going to get some. It's pretty gross. This guy strips down naked, and he tells Jun-Ho that if Jun-Ho takes care of him, he'll change his life. And Jun-Ho takes care of him all right. While on his knees, he grabs this guy's balls and brings him to the ground. He then puts the gun to his head and records the VIP telling the camera everything he knows about what is going on in the Squid Game. When Jun-Ho gets what he wants, he knocks the VIP out and he tries to escape, grabbing one of the dive packs. Shortly thereafter, one of the workers ends up noticing that the VIP has collapsed and he radios the front man. He tells him that the VIP will be fine, but he's pretty sure it's the intruder. So now the front man in the middle of the game has that to worry about. As for the game, that's reached a little bit of a stalemate when it gets to contestant 101. The Kingpin is up front, and he's got a few panes of glass to go. He certainly doesn't want to risk his life, so he tells the group, somebody better get up here and start walking, or else we're all dying. He's completely ready to play chicken with everybody, and he's got a lot of people behind him. This is when contestant 212 finally gets her revenge. She agrees to go first, but when she steps on the pane of glass that has 101, she wraps her arms around his waist, and she's not letting go. She reminds him that they agreed to stick together right till the end, and for her, the end is now. She leans back, and they both go through the next pane of glass to their death. But it opens up the pathway for everybody else to start making their way towards the finish line. For the next guy at the front, he's actually a glass expert. He worked in a glass factory, and he knows what to look for with tempered glass as opposed to the regular stuff that will send them to their death. So one by one, everybody starts making their way through the course thanks to this guy. But the VIPs notice that this guy has some kind of edge, And when the front man looks, he confirms, yeah, he worked in a glass factory. Let me change it up a little bit. Let me turn the lights out so he can't tell the difference. When this happens, the only indication the guy has is to hear the glass. He needs something to throw at the glass so he can hear the ping. Luckily, Seung still has the marble. When the guy throws it on the one pane of glass, he hears it. The problem is he needs something else to throw on the other pane of glass so he can tell which one is tempered and which one isn't. And time is quickly running out. Sang-woo, he's not ready to wait for this guy to figure out which one's tempered and which one isn't. He shocks everybody by pushing this guy to a pane of glass, which breaks and sends the guy to his death. He kind of had to, though. There's only like 12 seconds left. And everybody's surprised, but when they look up and see 12 seconds, they know that they have to get through the course as quickly as possible. And that was the last pane of glass, so at this point, it's just taking a few steps. Sang-woo, Seung, and Sabyak all make it to the end, just in the nick of time. And when the clock hits 0, all the panes of glass explode, sending shards of glass their way. Now with the game over, the frontman is able to focus on Jun-ho, who was unaware that when he stole that dive pack, the dive pack had a tracking device. So the frontman knows exactly where he's going and where he can find Jun-ho. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.